For many years, I've been trying to find a way to make my Switch just a bit more comfortable for long play sessions. After trying the Hori split pads and Mechanism Switch Mate grip, I've got a couple decent options already that I tend to use anytime I break out my Switch. Yet, some folks over at Mobapad saw those videos and emailed me to say, hey, how about you try one of our controllers next? It's so much better than those other ones. And, I appreciated the enthusiasm. So let's take a look at the Mobapad M6 HD they sent me to see if it's truly the better option. As might be obvious from just looking at them, the M6 HD is a set of Joy-Con replacements, meant to provide a better grip than Nintendo's controllers. And immediately, they're a bit unusual, because they actually have, almost, feature parity with Joy-Cons. They're Bluetooth controllers with onboard batteries that also connect and charge via the Switch's rails. Motion controls work as expected. They wake the Switch from sleep, and they even have Amiibo support, with also, at least from what I can tell, full HD rumble. The only feature Joy-Cons have that these don't is an IR blaster. Though if someone's using IR features, it's usually on something that benefits from Joy-Cons anyway. Considering the multitude of third-party controllers on the market that tend to drop one or more of the core Joy-Con features, the M6 HD feels top tier right out of the gate. And that goes for the controls as well. On both halves, we have half-height, offset Hall effect sticks. They feel smooth, with just the right amount of resistance to them. Throughout my testing, they felt about as good as using a full-size Switch controller, which is exactly what I want to see for Joy-Con substitutes. The stalks even have metal rings around them to help slow degradation during normal usage, and the caps have a decently grippy design that's felt good to use. Additionally, if I weren't a fan of the default circular stick gates, I could swap those out for the octagonal ones that come right in the box. In fact, most of this controller is completely modular. The stick caps, button caps, D-pad, and top shell can all be swapped out without too much effort, but still enough effort that I haven't dislodged anything accidentally. Mobapad sells replacement sets in a variety of colors for only $20. That's not expensive, and something I appreciate in case I ever want to switch up my style or replace a degraded component. Though, what I'll likely swap the most is the D-pad. A circular D-pad comes pre-installed, but a standard cross D-pad also comes in the box. The circular pad is a bit softer, but still offers a satisfying click and pivot. Meanwhile, the cross D-pad still feels great with a decent amount of travel and tactile feedback to it. In general, I like them both, and could see myself swapping them for different gameplay scenarios. Although if I had one nitpick, I do kinda wish the centers of the D-pads could be a bit more concave, kinda like with the Series X D-pad. Especially with the circular D-pad, the general flatness doesn't offer a ton of tactile variation as I slide my thumb around the surface. I still enjoy using it, but would love to see an option with just a little more tactile feedback to it. Luckily, I don't quite have the same nitpicks about the rest of the buttons. They all feel perfectly adequate. The shoulders and digital triggers do a great job while being equally as clicky. They're full-sized and more than comfortable to rest my fingers on. I've also found them to have a little bit of extra give before actuation, which has helped cut down on accidental inputs, despite them being a bit softer than other clicky controllers I've tested in the past. For a Switch controller, they feel great. The action buttons are about twice the size of a Joy-Cons with micro switches underneath. They're quick and clicky with a soft start and decent amount of travel. Most folks who don't mind clicky buttons will really enjoy their feel for games that require quick, precise inputs. For about 90% of the games I've tried, I've enjoyed them much more than standard Joy-Cons. There are just two small, potentially nitpicky issues. The first, they're pretty loud. I haven't found them annoying during typical use, or to overcome my Switch's speakers or anything like that. However, for the types of folks who play their Switch in bed next to their significant other, I could see them being more problematic than Joy-Cons or split pads. The second issue involves the button depth. When fully depressed, the buttons are flush with the shell. While holding down a button in a game like Mario Kart, my thumb's constantly interacting with the shell. Plus, because these buttons are optimized for speed, they don't exert a ton of upward force when pushed down. The lack of resistance, plus the contact with the shell, makes it feel like I'm just holding my thumb against the shell instead of the button. It's not the most comfortable setup, to be honest. For certain games, it kind of makes me wish Mobapad had ditched the clicky buttons for this controller. Admittedly, I do at least have the workaround of just mapping an action button to one of the grip buttons though, which feel much better to press and hold. I tend not to mention grip buttons in these reviews because I admittedly don't use them very often. However, I really appreciate the amount of effort needed to press these. Too often, grip buttons are easy to hit accidentally and make me wish they didn't exist. Here, I have to squeeze the grips with purpose to press them. Combined with the easy on-device remapping and how they contour nicely with the grip's curves, and I really enjoy them. But, does all that translate to good usability? And well, for the most part, yeah, for sure. With the exception of the small fumble for Mario Kart, this controller has held up well in the variety of games I've thrown at it over the past few weeks, both when connected and used wirelessly. The large, deep textured grips make my Switch feel a lot like a reduced version of my Steam Deck. They're extremely comfortable to hold and use while I'm playing normally. All the inputs feel snappy, with the offset sticks being especially appreciated. Plus, the extra benefit of good rumble really helps to sell these controllers as something premium that I don't feel compromised swapping out my Joy-Cons for. But there are some minor downsides. Kind of like my Steam Deck, I found that the grips give a little bit more heft than I'd like while lying back, which led to some initial cramped hands before I learned to adjust my grip in a certain way. In general, I've also found these controllers to make my palms a bit sweatier during regular play, not sure why. And then, unlike my Joy-Cons, the M6 HD also takes a bit more effort to slide on and off my Switch's rails. The difference in resistance always makes me a bit nervous, though that at least comes with the trade-off of such large controllers feeling less wobbly on the rails without providing a back brace. Also, as a general point that can't really be helped with these sorts of controllers, their size does make them less convenient for travel. Anyone picking one of these up will almost certainly need a new case to accommodate them. Mobapad sent theirs alongside their controller. It's a decent quality hard case with room for 8 games and a few small accessories. They sell it for about $25. I dig it. However, it's also about twice the size of my standard Switch case, or about the size of my Steam Deck's case. For folks like me who often carry a Switch because it's compact, that's a bit of a blow. Unless you're carrying really big bags, this will likely be something you need to reorganize your bag to accommodate. Which brings us to the question: should you consider the Mobapad M6 HD over other options like the Hori split pad? For a short answer, yeah, sure. As long as you don't mind clicky buttons, a larger footprint, and could overlook some of the nitpicks I pointed out, the M6 HD doesn't seem to pack a lot of compromises and feels great to use. It's honestly a rarity among third-party controllers, and it's easy to recommend to someone looking for a Joy-Con substitute in its style. For a longer answer, well, it depends on your budget and what exactly you're looking for. Currently, the M6 HD is $80. That's about the same price as a pair of new Joy-Cons. That's a lot of money, and while I think they do a great job of justifying the price tag, folks looking for a cheaper option will likely get 90% of the same experience with the Hori split pads, which sell for $50 or less. In fact, during the Splatoon 3 Grand Festival, My wife swapped between the split pads in M6 HD every few matches and came away saying that they felt quite similar. Even the sticks, despite using different mechanisms, didn't feel remarkably different. She doesn't care about rumble and doesn't need a clicky controller. All she cares about is having a good grip with reliable inputs. Even with the M6 HD having a ton more features, the split pads do everything she'd want them to do. Ultimately, I think whether someone should buy one over the other is really going to come down to how much they prize those secondary features, like rumble, amiibo support, and motion controls. Or the aesthetics of being able to swap out buttons, sticks, and faceplates. Because the actual feeling of controls doesn't feel too far off, other than one is clickier than the other. And that's the rub here. I'm not quite sure the Mobapad M6 HD is actually a better controller than the 40 split pads. However, they are certainly better Joy-Con substitutes. And as someone looking for Joy-Con substitutes, I think that might end up being the thing that matters the most. Those are my thoughts, though. I'd love to know yours. Are you in the market for Joy-Con substitutes like the Mobapad M6 HD? Or do you have a favorite Joy-Con alternative you think others should know about? Let me know down in the comments. As always, if you found this video helpful or informative, go ahead and click the like button to let me know, and then get subscribed for more video game tech videos in the future. This video was made possible by a review sample of the Mobapad M6 HD and its case sent by Mobapad. Like all my other reviews, they had no editorial input into the making of this video and are seeing it for the first time alongside y'all. If you're interested in picking up a Mobapad M6 HD, I'll have a link in the video description to Mobapad's store. That's going to be all for this video though. Thank you so much for watching all the way until the end. And, well, until next time, catch you later.